Hello, everybody out there. How's everybody doing today on this Manic Monday? Look at these glasses. Hey, they're pretty cool, huh? But you know what? I can't see with them. That's the problem. They got to go. Why did I have those glasses on? You're wondering if you can't see out of them, why do you have glasses on? Well, that's the Zigzag man here, Mr. Zigzag over here. The reason is very simple. It's very simple to explain. I'm not going loony over the weekend. I didn't go goofy. No, it's very easy to explain. I'm looking over at the laneway across the street by the meteor crater. And Gary Wilkins and Mike Cushman know that's full of slag and contaminants. And they're at the far end digging it up. They got a front end loader digging it up, a truck full of crap. I don't know where they're taking it. I didn't see which way they went. But they're dumping it somewhere, and we know it's contaminated. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Unfortunately, I can't follow the trucks to find out where they're going. And I got to have Gary Wilkins or Mike Cushman down here to investigate. And there's other strange goings on in the meteor crater as well. So now the one thing I do know, I can tell you, is that laneway there, the building has bought that laneway from the city. They bought it last year, and they're going to develop on it. They're going to build an addition onto the back of the building already there and put, I don't know if they're putting apartments or condos or whatever they're doing with it, but they've got the okay to dig that up. The city sold them that land last year. So that land is available for them. They bought it, and now they're going to put a building on there. So they're digging up, which means they got to have a foundation. They got to dig in. I don't know what they're pulling out of there. I'm not over there. I'm just telling you what's going on down on Queen Street on this Manic Monday. Hello, everybody. My name is Paul K. Lemire. This is Your City, Your Voice. Is it up there? Do I have my sign up there? No, it says The Pat Porter Show. I forgot to put my sign up there, but who cares? It doesn't matter because everybody knows who I am anyway. Anybody that watches, it's Your City, Your Voice. And of course, Pat Porter has a great show here as well. Oh gosh, she's on a lot, Pat Porter. Anyway, we are live in downtown Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. The studios of 4680Q. So let's get this show on the road. Holy cow. And I'm not talking about Rosie O'Donnell. I'm talking about the weather. It's a heat wave, baby, and I love it. I love it. All kinds of warnings. It's ushered in summer of 2025. 90 degrees, humid out there. It's a real humdinger out there, and you got to enjoy it. Come on. We've been waiting for this. In 3 months, everybody will be crying. They wish it was warm again. So June was brutal. May was brutal. Now we got nice weather. Enjoy it. Get out there. Do stuff. I think the kids are in school for another week, aren't they? Because if they weren't, the pools would be packed. These kids got to go somewhere when it's this hot out. I say, grab yourself a nice tree, a gravity chair, a good book, and a cool drink, and enjoy the day. Like I say, 8 weeks will be in September. Only 8 short weeks. We're going to be in September. We'll be planning our trips, paying thousands of dollars for this weather we're getting for free right now. So enjoy it. It's free right here in beautiful Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. On to my sponsors: Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue, Hamill Machine Company, and the Niagara Parks Commission. Welcome to the show, Niagara Parks Commission. Pleasure to have you aboard as a sponsor of the show. Okay, where do we start here? Where do we start? Well, we're going to talk about Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop. And you know what Wild Bill's doing right now? He's giving you an air conditioning check. That's right. Get your car in there. Get them to check out your air conditioning. This is not the kind of weather you want to be in a car where your air conditioner is broken down. You're going to be going somewhere with your wife and kids, and without that air conditioning, flying down the 400 series of highways at 130 kilometers an hour, because we all speed, guess what? You can't have the windows open. You can't have the windows open. That's all there is to it. The dog might jump out. So what do? Put your windows up and make sure your air conditioning is working. Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop. They'll check your whole car out and your air conditioning. Make sure it's working the way it should be. Ice cold, blowing out of those vents for your pleasure and comfort. Now they're going to check the rest of your car too, your brakes, your systems, everything, to make sure you're going to have a good motoring summer. You can't get it any better than that. Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, Oakwood Drive, next to the Kia dealership. Get that air conditioning checked. Be proactive. WildBillsAuto.ca. That's where you go to see the services they provide and what they can do for you. At Wild Bill's, they have a full body shop. Car in, broke, out, showroom condition. You got to love it. Tell them Paul from Your City, Your Voice sent you. And while you're there at the WildBillsAuto.ca website, give the video right here. You're watching right now. If you're on radio, watch it later on YouTube, Rumble, X, and Truth Social. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. It costs nothing to subscribe. You don't have to put your hand in your pocket for a dime. All you have to do is hit that button, smash that button, hit the notification. It'll tell you when I'm dropping another video. It's so simple. Why don't you just do it? Do us a favor. The algorithm will get this show out. The more the show gets out, the better it is for everybody. It's more fun when everybody's involved. Okay, so what did I do on the weekend here? Well, I checked out Ribstock on Friday night. And what can I say about it? Boring. Yeah, it was pretty boring. There was a plethora of food trucks, a bunch of food trucks, but a lot of people I talked to were asking, where's the carnival? There was no carnival. They were supposed to be hooking up with Stafford Center Volunteer Firemen's Association and having a carnival. No carnival. They had one bouncy castle or something, and I'm going to tell you, that was pretty well what a lot of people were there for with their kids. I mean, we went to try to grab something to eat from that sizzling steak and check it out, but to be honest with you, the lineup was so big at Sizzling Steak, they were really busy. I didn't even get to it. I wasn't standing in line for an hour to get a hunk of barbecued meat, sizzling meats. But there was a band playing, tribute to Black Sabbath. They were pretty good. But overall, lasted about an hour. That's it, and I got out of there. I couldn't take it anymore. But when I got there we got there about 5:30. Me and Chopper went down. There wasn't a lot of people there, to be honest with you. It was pretty sad. But then at 6:30 or so, they started coming in, and it was getting busy when I left. So that's good. I had never heard about Saturday. I haven't talked to anybody who went on Saturday to see what it was like. My cousin said he did go, but he never really talked about it, so I'm taking that it was pretty boring. He ended up taking off and going down the parks, taking a drive down the parks to watch fireworks and that kind of thing. So it was beautiful weather for the event. Now, I heard the event was well organized, and when I was there, I saw it was well organized. I'd say that. The one place I wanted to try, like I say, was packed, so I didn't bother. And I was going to go Saturday night again with Liz and Chopper and Breda, and all of us were going to go. But I said, you know what? There's nothing really there. You can't get to the food truck that I want to get to. The other ones were pretty well wide open, but it was kind of like a lot of food trucks there. But the only one I wanted to try was that Sizzling Meats, and so I just passed on it. Went to Grand Central, had a nice steak sub. I love their steak subs, and then crossed the street to Ronnie Don's Ice Cream. Had a beautiful tiger tail ice cream. I haven't had that since I was a kid, so I had a good Saturday night. But it wasn't at Ribstock. So I think this Ribstock will become a yearly event. It looked pretty well organized. It looked pretty good. Everybody seemed to be pretty happy there, although they were wondering where the carnival was. And I don't know about the name, though. Ribstock, there's really not any rib places there. There's no ribbers. I think one place was making ribs. Maybe that Sizzling Meat had ribs, and a guy had them, but that was about it. But there wasn't any big signs with all the rivers you usually see. I think if people were going there for ribs, they would have been a little bit disappointed because they just weren't there. What are you going to do? So while I was there, I saw Counselor Chris Dabrowski. I was talking to him for a while. He was giving me shots because I love Chris. He's a great guy. He's giving me shots because he says, I'm in love with Lori Lococo, he said. You know, and I don't criticize her at all, but everybody else I give it to. And I say, Chris, I give it to everybody when they deserve it. Lori just happens to say the things that I like to hear using common sense. So I'm not on her a lot, but I don't agree with her DEI stuff and her flag raising stuff. There's a lot of things I don't agree with, and I call her out on it. I call them out on it all the time. But Chris is a great guy. He's not letting me go by without giving it to me, and I love it because that's what it's all about, right? I like Chris. He likes me. We get along great, and he's doing his job up there. And sometimes I'm going to agree, sometimes I won't. But it was fun talking to him and James Ponce. So they're two guys that I really like. But that doesn't get in the way of their performance on city council. They don't do what I think is right or what I don't think is right for the city. I'm gonna give it to them. They know it, and that's what makes it a fun relationship. Good people. I also saw the Cheeto Bandito Wayne Gates there, and I actually talked to him. Yeah, it's amazing. Because I don't talk to the guy. I really, he don't acknowledge me, and I don't bother him neither. I mean, I do it on air when I talked about him, and I call him the Cheeto Bandito and everything else. But he was pretty nice. He was pretty nice. I really never had a chance to talk to him for any length of time, but I got stranded there with him, and so I said to him, "Listen, when you going to get the Queens Pet Park and do your job?" And he said, "Well, you're not going to believe this, Paul. October 20th." And I go, "What?" Queens Park, they're not sitting again until October 20th. July, August, September, October. Now, this big mama Luke Ford, who's talking about tariffs and elbows up, and he's going to cut off the electricity. All these big things going on with tariffs in Ontario and they're not going to sit for another 3.5 months. Can you imagine this? And I said to Wayne, "What's kind of baloney is that?" I just go there, Paul. I don't make the rules, man, oh man, I couldn't believe it. He also talked about Fort Erie Racetrack. They're doing well down there. They had some pretty good days. I got to get there. Maybe I'm going to go tomorrow, check it out. But good things. Good thing talking to Wayne. I don't really. He's not my favorite person, really, to be honest with you. But hey, talking to him wasn't too bad. I didn't mind. I have to talk to him more. Maybe get some inside stuff from him for the show. And that was that. That was the end of that. That was my Friday and Saturday. And Sunday I did nothing, as usual. Fewer comments. No comments on Friday's show, but a few on Thursdays. At GTA underscore TV video. Not sure who this is. Never commented before, but he said, "That dude is not from our planet." I don't. I have no idea who he was talking about. I guess he was talking about me, or I don't know. He never said. He just made that statement. But I assure you, GTA underscore TV video, that I am from planet Earth. I am an Earthling. Not sure about all the others that I talk about, though. Party on, Garth. Party on. At Chicken Nar. Another comment from Chicken Nar. "We're all doomed with this PM. Please look after our country first, especially where it concerns the homeless or soon to be homeless, which is where I am almost at." Well, Chicken Nar, I don't even pay attention to Chili Con Carne anymore. He and Canada, for that matter, are so irrelevant in world matters that his opinion is worthless. He's not solving any Canadian problems. He's making it worse for everybody. I just don't take him seriously. He's just putting Canada another trillion in the hole, spending money on other countries rather than Canada. 213 million to jack up the military in Europe. 213 billion, sorry, not million, billion with a B, to jack up the military in Europe. He's given 2.3 billion to Zelensky as a loan. We'll never see that money back ever. And another 2 billion to Zelensky so he can buy helicopters and guns and weapons and stuff. I mean, I can't wait to become the 51st state and make Canada great again. That's the only apparent cure to this disease we have in Canada. And that's where I'm at. So yeah, Chicken Nar, good luck, my friend. Try to keep your home. Don't go homeless. The Iceman 69. They can wear T-shirts with words on them. True enough. And he's talking about council where the girls were holding up the signs, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show here. But he says they can wear T-shirts with whatever they had on them, and yeah, that's true. They can, but I mean, they can use signs too. I said it before. There's going to be a constitutional challenge, and there was, and we'll talk about that. Freedom of speech rules apply in public buildings. We'll see if there's a challenge and what the results will be. At 881 Slick, replying to Iceman69, I'm 100% positive that clown Mike Strange held up a sign last year or the year before wishing someone a happy birthday. So my question is, it's okay for a member of council, yet the public can't. They're so damn greasy. Thank you, Lori DeCoco, for standing up for women. Yes, and what happened there was that all of City Council walked off the floor when they came in with their signs, and Lori did not walk off the floor. People were thinking that they were walking off in solidarity with Mike Strange, who, of course, was charged with assault on a woman. They thought they were, walking off in solidarity, but they weren't walking off in solidarity. They should have sat there because that's not a good crime to be alleged to have committed. And good point, 881 Slick, because they say there's no clapping in city council meetings. They have rules on no clapping. But, council always claps for everything. No problemo. Weird bunch we have running the city. Do I have to say more? It's do as I say, not as I do. And that's the way it is. Now, speaking of signs, on my last show, I talked about these women who were thrown out of city council meeting. And I said they should not have been thrown out. They're allowed to be in a public space. It's a public city hall that's owned by taxpayers. They can be there. They have a right to be there. And they have a right to be there with their signs. As long as the signs do not break any anti-racism or whatever, they're not offensive enough to cause a disturbance. If you held up a sign at city council saying, "Make love, not war," they have no right to throw you out. They have no right to throw you out. That is not offensive. That's a good thing. But they do. They'll throw you out if you hold up signs, and they shouldn't. I think it's unconstitutional because you do have freedom of speech. Freedoms, right? I say the only reason the city hall gets away with this is because nobody's challenged them yet. Now, of course, there's a story of the Review questioning if banning signs at a city council meeting is unconstitutional. Something I believe it is because city hall policy regarding signs and their decorum, reminding about conduct, they do not trump the people's rights that are guaranteed in the Constitution, which we call the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Policy, no matter what they tell you, is not law. They could make a policy that black people can't come in there. You think that's going to hold up? Or that gays can't come in there? Their policies are not law. They don't hold any water, and they can't ban anything that is not disruptive or racist or breaks any of the other rules of the Constitution, hate speech and that kind of thing. So they can't stop these people. Now the cops came in and they called the cops. Jimmy called the cops on them and everything else. And the cops they said they arrested them, but they can't arrest them because they haven't broken any law. They just told them to leave and then they just say, "Go, get out of here," right? But I don't even think the cops should have been doing that. They're not there to uphold the policy. They're not the policy police. They're there to uphold the law. And if somebody would have argued enough about it with them, they would have probably had to back off and get the hell out of there and leave them alone. Now, the move by city to kick these women out has come to the attention of the Canadian Constitution Foundation, an organization that last year forced Niagara Region to back down on procedural bylaw that banned signage in the audience at council meetings. Christine Van Jen, CCF's litigating director, says she believes the city's actions were unreasonable and probably unconstitutional. And she's right. Something I said last week, right after it happened. And of course, I agree with it. Now, the mayor said he's not concerned with anyone challenging the city's policy around decorum. He says, challenge away. He says, apparently thinking he is above the Constitution. Jimmy's above the Constitution. He makes the rules. No kings, Jimmy. No kings. Remember that? Elbows up, yeah, but no kings. I mean, we always follow the rules of order, he said, and if that's what the court tells us, then that'll be the case. But until that happens, they're not allowed, period. Well, I think Jimmy's going to end up eating those words. Jen replied, passing unconstitutional laws is not the solution, and it will be the Niagara Falls taxpayers that bear the cost of any litigation that may result from council's hasty and ill-considered decision. And she is right. Of course, it'll be the taxpayers. Who else is going to pay the bills? I said this before, and I'll say it again. Mayor Jim's whims are not law. His policy and decorum rules are not law. No matter what he thinks, and at the end of the day, they will not trump constitutionally protected activities, such as freedom of speech in public buildings. And that's the bottom line. We'll see. It'll go. We'll see what happens. We'll see how they rule on it. Because if they don't change these rules, these rules, it'll go to court, and it'll go to let a judge decide what's constitutional, what isn't. And Gary Wilkins, they're digging that up. Dust is flying all over the place. They got that little front end loader there. That little, what do you call that little thing with four wheels? Little front end loader. Bobcat, yeah, that's what it's called. Now a note. Niagara's two other largest cities do not have policies that prohibit signs. The St. Catharines bylaw says members of the public may not applaud, heckle, make audible demonstrations, or support or opposition, engage in conversation, or display any other behavior that will may be considered disruptive, inconsiderate, and disrespectful or intimidating to others. And that's fair. You hold a sign up there that just says, make love, not war. That's not bothering anybody, right? Several women with signs saying the women of Ontario say no did not break any St. Catharines laws. They did not heckle or jeer. They were sitting quiet with their signs. Now others say they weren't allowed because of the Mike Strange situation, and city councilors, with the exception of Lococo, walked out. In a strange, I had no pun intended, kind of solidarity with Councillor Strange, was arrested and charged with allegedly assaulting his girlfriend. So that was something that was weird. But throwing these women out because of that is a bogus excuse and definitely is not unconstitutional. Jason Burgess got up and gave a big speech about these rules that are posted in the city as policies for years, but that doesn't matter, Jason. I don't care how many years they've had it. It's not legal, and that doesn't mean anything. So we'll see if the CCF pursues this. I hope they do set this record straight. Policy and decorum never trump the public's constitutional rights, and that's the bottom line. Thanks to Bill Sawchuk, Karen Walter, and Dave Johnson for bits and pieces of the story, all writers for local newspapers. There you go. What do you think out there? Leave comments. Leave comments in the comment section. I want to know what you think about the people's constitutional expression, right to express their opinions on signs, as long as they're not intimidating or threatening or racist or any of that stuff. They should have the right. It's freedom of speech. We have that. I think we have that in Canada. I know in the United States they do. They have the First Amendment to the Constitution to stand behind. Okay, let's get to my second sponsor, Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue. I'm telling you, you want a good pizza. Everybody loves pizza. Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue is the place to go. They are consistent. They make a consistently good pizza. Why? Because they use the Mancini family recipe that's been around for 40 years, tried, tested, and true. But it's not just the recipe for sauce and crust that makes it a good pizza. Mike and Rex down at Victoria Avenue Pete's Pizza, they actually know how to put it together on a pizza. The right ratio of sauce to that beautiful Saputo mozzarella with brick cheese blend. And they know how to put the fresh ingredients on, and they know how to cook it to perfection. That's artisan pizza. That's an art to make it right, and they're good every time. They're consistent every time. Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue, 905-374-2222. Not a one-hit wonder. Great wings, steak and cheese poutine, steak sandwiches, panzerotti. They got a full menu. You're going to be happy. Victoria, Pizza, Victoria.ca is the website. Check it out. They use Dine, Skip, the whole deal. Or just order it over the phone. Can't miss it. You got to go to Victoria Avenue Pizza. Thank you for supporting our sponsors because they support the city and the show. And I had a friend of mine message me saying they went and got a pizza there because they heard it from the show and they said it was fantastic. I get messages like that all the time. So I'm glad because I like to recommend places that I like. and I'm glad that other people like it as well that I recommend there. Oh boy. Of course, the big news over the weekend. We can't escape that, can we? It's impossible to escape. And the biggest news story, I don't know, for a long time, was Trump doing what Trump does best, making promises and keeping promises. After 2 months of waiting for Iran to come to the table and make peace while dropping their nuclear program, which was not negotiable, Trump sent 7 B-2 Spirit stealth bombers loaded with bunker busters, the only plane big enough to carry them, into Iran, and had loaded on Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan, home of Iran's nuclear programs, decimating them and taking them out of service. And I don't think this was a surprise. I think on my show last week, I mentioned that somebody had said somewhere that they were going in this weekend. Trump kept saying 2 weeks, somewhere in the next 2 weeks, but you knew it had to be sooner than later. Trump does not telegraph his plans. When asked when he was going in, he's not telling anybody. He makes the decision. And I'm not sure if this is getting to anybody on radio. You're not hearing it on radio. It says the streamer is connecting, so you might not be getting it on radio. I don't know. You're going to have to watch the video later. Who knows what's wrong with this? I don't have time to troubleshoot it in the middle of the show. But either way, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But it's recording, so the recording will be up after, but the video will be up later on today. Anyway, Trump went in there. He did what he had to do, tickled these nuclear sites. No apologies. Trump has repeatedly stated that Iran, the world's leader of state-sponsored terrorism and the financier of proxy terrorist groups like Hamas, Hezbollah, and Houthis, not to mention Al-Qaeda and ISIS, and probably the Taliban. Who knows? It could be over for them. The Crown Prince of Iran has returned to the country, and the only option left for the Ayatollah is to leave the country. Trump has made it clear Iran will never have nuclear weapons. It's not going to happen on his watch. So what happens now? Well, it's a game of waiting. What exactly was the result of the bombing? Were the nuclear facilities decimated or not? Some are saying that days before, the enriched uranium was moved to another location. So the bomb drops did not affect their capability to produce weapons-grade uranium. And make no mistake, that is exactly what they're doing, and they're not far from having it. Nuclear reactors, because they keep saying, no, we want it for nuclear reactors. We want it for nuclear reactors. Well, they only need 3 to 5% enrichment. That's it. That's all they need to perform. So why is Iran sitting on 60% enriched uranium? Why are they enriching it to 60%? Weapons need 90%. They're only a few days from doing that. Trump made a good point. Iran has enough oil to power any kind of power needs they have for the rest of eternity. So why are they building nuclear power plants in the first place? Well, they aren't. That's a good point. Why aren't they? Well, they aren't. They're building weapons-grade uranium. They're enriching it for weapons. Now, everybody's saying that the Iranians were wise to this bombing and they moved everything out. Well, if they did, it'll be once more around the block for the B-2s. Another strike will be looming. And basically, as far as the Iran defenses go, well, they have been decimated by weeks of bombing by Israel, and the stealth bombers are so invisible, they managed to go into Iran, bomb those 3 cities, and head back to the U.S. without even being seen. Not one AAA fire, anti-aircraft artillery fire. Not one shot fired at them, and the Iranian Air Force never flew a plane in defense. They were like ghosts moving through the countries, these B-2 spirits. Now, I've heard a lot of different rumors. I heard a rumor that the Ayatollah is dead, and he's been dead for a few days here. I don't know if that's true or not. But either way, if he's dead or not, he's going to be gone. He's going to be gone. Um, the Crown Prince is there. He's ready to take over. And this Ayatollah is going, no matter what, it's going to be not a regime change by Israel or by the United States. They just want the nuclear weapons gone. That's all they care about. But it's going to be regime change because the people are sick of this tyranny and that kind of thing. There's going to be a revolution there. I don't think it's going to be a big one. I think this Ayatollah is going to flee before they execute him, get a hold of him, and it'll be like back in 1979 when or 70 whatever that was, early 70s, when they threw out the other Ayatollah and the Shah of Iran took over. Well, his son's there now, and he's running the show. If Iran has the desire to strike back, the U.S. and Israel will unleash hell on Iran. It's over. There's not much left except capitulation and peace, but Iran's fundamentalists believe Allah will save them, and they may well strike out. So we'll see if they strike out against the United States air bases in the Middle East, or the sleeper cells. They're worried about activating sleeper cells in the U.S. There's a high alert in the U.S. now, high alert on American military bases around the Middle East. But time's going to tell. The ball's in their court to determine the future of Iran, which only 40 short years ago was a modern, rich, free country that used their wealth to make better life for people. That all collapsed when the Shah left in 79. The return of the Ayatollah, who moved Iran back into the Stone Ages. I think there's going to be a big change there. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. And if they indeed did move all the enriched uranium out to other sites and that, the United States will find out where they are. They'll take another run at them, guaranteed, and that'll be that. Eventually, they're going to get it, and they've set them back months, if not years now, with their nuclear program. Now, what about China, Russia, and the rest of the world? Well, Israel, of course, is totally endorsing and praising the bomb. Netanyahu got on national TV praising the United States for their bold move to end this nuclear threat once and for all. And it looks like at the end of the day, they're very, very happy about it. They control the skies over Tehran. There's no resistance when they fly in there. They bomb at will now, taking out air bases, military bases, and anything else they want to hit that they deem is critical to carry on this war they've got going. And that's including media. That's including media. They're taking out the media too, the propaganda media. China may not like it, but with the threat of Iran to shut down the Straits of Hormuz, China and the rest of the world, for that matter, would be badly affected. Their whole society depends on oil. And with no oil, everyone suffers in China. And they get 45% of their oil from the Middle East through the Straits of Hormuz. They can't afford to have the oil cut off by Iran's threats, so they're going to be telling them, come on, don't do it. Iran's threatening. They're going to be telling them, don't do it. I think they'll stay out of it as far as any kind of a military goes. They want to negotiate a peace settlement and de-escalate the situation. It's not in their best interest for this war to continue. Especially now that Iran has no other options, either just shut down the Straits of Hormuz. That's about all they can do now. And I'm sure the U.S. and the other countries that are in there will have something to say about it. Germany's praising Trump's bombing. Britain has said they're going to go in if they have to. They'll be in on it. So we're starting to get some other countries that are jumping aboard the Trump train as far as making Iran nuclear neutral. So there you go. Of course, the little rocket man from North Korea condemned the U.S. strikes on Iran. Well, he better watch out, because if he gets out of line, he could be next. Russia's threatened, but at the end of the day, they're all tied up with Ukraine and can't think of fighting on two fronts, especially one of them against the United States or Israel. Trump told Putin, "You have your own problems. Stay out of our battle here with Iran and take care of the Ukraine peace deal. Never mind coming over here." And all of the Middle East, to be honest, is tired of having Iran as the bully of the region with a nuclear option. They would be even worse and truly be more of a threat than they already are. There's no help for Iran, no Biden and Obama, plane loads of money and lifting of sanctions to help them now. It's basically over for them. Now, those crazy Houthis in Yemen vowed to attack all U.S. ships in the Red Sea if the U.S. launched a strike against Iran. Well, they haven't learned their lessons. The Houthis are the wildest, craziest bunch of guys I ever saw. They don't care. They just keep on doing what they're not supposed to be doing. And at the end of the day, it's over for them. They're going to be in for a world of hurt if they start that nonsense again. They already had the tar knocked out of them by the U.S. so many times. This time it'll be done. A one and done. It's going to be a one and done situation. The U.S. is going to go in there and wipe them all out. Trump's had it with these terrorists and their threats, and they're going to take care of business. The crazy Houthis, I wish they never made the threat. So now it's just a waiting game. We got to just keep watching everything and seeing what's going on. War or peace, war or peace. The Ayatollah vows revenge. He may have to leave. He won't even have a chance to have revenge. The ball's in Iran's court. We'll see what they do with it. And like I said, some say the Ayatollah is dead. He's not even alive. Anything you see on TV is AI, any speeches he gives, which could be. And the only concern that I'm really hearing from any Americans that I know when I ask them, are they concerned about any of this, is the sleeper cells. A lot of people, like Biden let 20 million people in. A lot of them are from the Middle East. Nobody knows who they are or where they are. They came over the southern border. That's closed up now. So now they're coming over the northern border. And the director of FBI, Kash Patel, I saw him on one of the shows this weekend, and he said that they're doing their best to work with Canada to shore up their defenses and everything else. They're watching the northern border with Canada and working with Canada to get the northern borders under control. Canada's ports of entry are still pretty wide open, wider than the States would like them. All kinds of people coming into Canada through their airports and their shipping ports with bogus visas and that kind of thing. And once they get here, they don't want to leave, and they use the visas to get to the States. But I think the States, with the FBI and ICE, are going to start taking a close look at their domestic terrorists that are in the country causing trouble. And I think they're going to be starting to concentrate on them rather than the illegals from Mexico and South America and that. And on that front, on the ICE front, they're doing well. Over 1 million people have left so far, either willingly with the $1,000 bonus and the right to come back legally in the future, or being ICE deported one way or the other. They're getting thrown out. But, I mean, 1 million is a drop in the bucket compared to the 20 million that came in where they don't know where they are. So I think that's the biggest concern when I've talked to Americans. That's their biggest concern, is what's going on with these illegals and these sleeper cells. There's a high threat right now alert on, and that's about it in the States. That's what they're worried about more than anything. Not worried about Iran hitting or anybody hitting them from there. It's a long way away. They have defenses to take care of that, but it's the domestic terrorism they're worried about. And to end this, all the left-wing loonies are on Trump about this attack, saying the U.S. has declared war on Iran. Listen, nobody has declared war on anyone. This was a strategic attack which was necessary because of past administrations and their lax policies towards Iran. It was not an attack for war. It was an attack to stop their nuclear program, which Trump has said from day one, even in 2020 when it was a thing, that they can have a nuclear weapons. They cannot have them. Hillary Clinton gave them uranium when she was Secretary of State. Obama gave them suitcases full of money, billions of dollars, and lifted sanctions on them so they could sell oil worldwide and make even more money. Biden freed up billions of frozen assets and reversed all of Trump's sanctions that he put on in the 4 years he was president. With executive orders from the first day, Biden took everything off. And after he freed up billions of dollars of frozen assets and he lifted all the sanctions, what did Iran do with the money? They funded Hamas and created the October 7th situation that started all this 2 years ago. And here we are. So the left-wing loonies should just shut up and not say anything because everything points back to them. They start pointing at Trump. You just turn that finger around and point at themselves. Look in the mirror. Okay, we're going to talk about this crazy situation in Minnesota that popped up last week and several other things. But before that, I want to get to my third sponsor, Hamel Machine Company. Now, Hamel Machine Company has been around since 1948, and anybody who's got a business, an industry in Niagara Falls, the first thing they look for when they move here is good machine shops to be able to help them when machines break down, where they need tools, they need their problems retooled, their machines retooled, things like that. They need parts where they are printed 3D. They have 3D printers and all the modern innovations they have. Well, Hamel has all that. That's what they do, and that's what they're good at. When they go in and look at a broken part on a machine, they don't just look at it and fix it or re-engineer it, because they can do that too. They look at how they can make it better. They know how to innovate. They know how to create, invent, if you will, parts to work better, be more efficient. Time is money. These companies cannot afford to be down and wait for parts to come in from around the world these days. Parts are made. They need to get up and running ASAP. Time is money. So what do? They call Hamel. Hamel comes down, takes a look at it, looks at it, fixes it, and 9 times out of 10, they can make it more efficient for them. They can make it work better. That's what they do. That's what they're good at. They do it for Rich's Products in Fort Erie. They do it for the wine industry. They do it for the agricultural industry. This is where they are. They ship worldwide their inventions, their innovations. That's the kind of company they are, all here in Niagara Falls since 1948, serving Niagara. And if you need something done for your house, you shear a pin, you need this broke, you can go to Hamel too. They're going to take care of you. They also serve just regular guys like me and you who need things done. They can do it over at Hamel Machine Shop. Check them out today. Go to hamelmachine.ca. Give them a call. Tell them Paul from Your City, Your Voice sent you. They can help you. Thank you very much, Hamel Machine Company, for sponsoring the show. And thank you for sponsoring the city. They are great corporate citizens of Niagara Falls. Okay, what about this wacky story about this guy in Minnesota that dressed as a police officer? He dressed as a police officer. He goes up to a house that is owned by State Senator John Hoffman and his wife. He poses as a cop, and he goes to the front door and he shoots him. Says he has to talk to him about something important, and he shoots him. And then he took off. Now, he didn't kill those two people, but he didn't stop there. He went to State Representative Melissa Hortman's house and did the same thing and shot them dead. Now, when the cops found out about this other senator, John Hoffman, they immediately went to the state representative's house, and they caught him coming out the front door. They had a shootout with him. He went through the back door, escaped. But they had his cruiser. He made a car look like a police cruiser, and they had that with all this stuff inside. Now, they finally caught this guy. And in his abandoned car was a list of 70 other potential targets that he was going to kill, including Tim Waltz, Tampon Tim, if you remember him. But the weird thing is that in the past, Tampon Tim hired this guy. He appointed him to the Minnesota Governor's Workforce Development Board about 6 years ago. Now, this isn't good. And he served 2 consecutive 3-year terms. The first 3 years were under Governor Mark Dayton, and he was reappointed in 2019 by Walz. And in the second term, he served alongside the Senator John Hoffman, the one he shot. But he came to them with Walz. Walz rehired the guy. Now, the authorities are considering this may not be done by one man, that Bolter was a part of a much bigger plot to kill all these people. So the FBI and other 3-letter agencies are right in the middle of this, taking a close look at this Bolter, and Walz is being put under a microscope as well. And this is the weirdest thing, because Walz, we saw him during the election. He was a pretty big kook. I mean, let's face it. He is a very big kook when it comes right down to it. The way he talked, the way he acted. He's could be an agent of China. He was to China so many times they had a hard time keeping count how many times he went there, and for what reason he went there wasn't quite clear. So this guy's been under the microscope since the election, and now with this all hooking back to him, this bizarre story, who knows what's going to come out of this? But stay tuned to that one. Stay tuned for that one. Now, over to Volvo. Volvo has joined the plethora of car companies that are shelving their EV plans. They've had enough, and they hit the brakes. See what I did there? They hit the brakes on their plan to be an all-electric company by 2030. That's right. They've followed Stellantis and Volkswagen and Ford and GM on the no EV bandwagon because they just can't sell them. Nobody wants them. They're not selling at all. And so even though this whack job in Canada, Chili Con Carne, wants to turn all vehicles into electric vehicles by 2035, no more new vehicles can be sold in Canada unless they are electric after when we hit 2035. So in 2035, you have to buy a new electric vehicle. You will not be able to buy a new gas-powered vehicle. You'll have to get used if you want one. Can you imagine the price of these gas-powered cars once they ban them? Oh my goodness, used car market is going to go through the roof. But I mean, actually, you can understand why. They're sagging sales. There's a certain amount of people who buy into this climate change hoax. Our city council and regional councils being 2 of the entities, and it cost us thousands with carbon taxes and all the other things that they're doing. You can't believe it. If I told you, you did. It doesn't even make sense, but that's what they're doing. But with cars, it's sagging sales. Everybody who's on that bandwagon has bought one. They got it. They don't want it now. There's nobody left. They ran through the 1% of the market that wants them, or whatever it is. It's very low. And now there's nobody to buy them. So these companies are going broke. They can't sell them. There's fields of them sitting there. So now they're saying, well, that didn't work. Now we're going back to gas-powered cars, or at the least hybrid. You know, the ones that have the electric motors that they use when there's power, and then if they conk out like usual, they run out of power, something, they go to gas. They got these little gas engines in them. Well, that's what a lot of them are going to start making now. But the full EV vehicle is being put on hiatus because it's just not selling. There's no money to be made. And, we'll see this Chili Con Carne, his big 2035 plan. Hopefully he's not even here another year if we're lucky. But if we have to keep him for 4 years, that takes us to 2029. And you only got another 6 years, and Trudeau served 10. So who knows by then, right? But it's absurd. It's ridiculous. It's a money grab. That's all he's doing. And these ridiculous schemes are coming to an end. And that's good. That's a good thing for everybody. Now I want to get to my fourth sponsor, I should say, and that's our new sponsor, Niagara Parks Commission. And it was a beautiful weekend. I can imagine the parks were packed, and you know why? Because if you haven't experienced Niagara Parks Commission yet, you're missing out on one of the best parts of living in Niagara Falls. 14 million visitors come here a year, and they experience the 32 miles of Groom Parkway that we see every day and we have access to every day. With the coup de resistance, the pièce de resistance, the seventh wonder of the world, Niagara Falls themselves, right in the middle of the parkway. The Niagara Parks Commission has all kind of special events. They have special events, special attractions, zip lining, the boat tour. They have everything down the parks, anything you want to do that we in Niagara Falls take for granted, but we should get down there and do because they give us special deals on stuff. You have the new Whirlpool Pub and Lounge located at the Whirlpool Golf Course. Go sit there and enjoy a day on the parkway, just having something to eat and drink. Play some golf. The Adventure Pass package, that's right. You want to take in all the attractions in Niagara Falls? You have the Adventure Pass package that lets you get into these places. And the annual parking pass. You live here, grab an annual parking pass. You can go down there every day if you like and look at the falls and walk the parkway for one $50 fee. I think it's $50 or something. I'm not sure. I know the Adventure Pass is a different price, but I think the parking was only $50 for the year. Great for locals, great for repeat visitors, people who come back to the falls regularly. You should experience all the parks have to offer, from the Butterfly Conservatory to the gardens, to the zip lining. It's all here, all in Niagara Falls. You got to get down here and see it. For more information, visit NiagaraParks.com. That's where you go. You'll see everything they have to offer. And I'm telling you, we live here. We ignore it, but at the end of the day, we should spend more time down there because it's just gorgeous. It's the nicest part of Niagara Falls, winter or summer. Niagara Parks Commission is the place to be. NiagaraParks.com for all the information. Thank you, Niagara Parks, for sponsoring the show. I'll get the ad better as I go here. There's so much to talk about the Niagara Parks. It's really tough to talk about in a minute or a minute and a half. It's just spectacular, and I advise anybody from town or out of town to go down there and enjoy the day down there. Okay. So what else is going on? That's about it. Chili Con Carne giving our money away. Wants all electric vehicles by 2035. He gets more absurd by the minute. And there's nothing we can do. There's not a darn thing we can do. I go, where's Waldo? Where's PP? Where's Pierre Poilievre? I haven't heard nothing from this guy. He's going to take over that riding in Alberta and be the official opposition. Right now, Scheer's, but they're not even in session. And Carney's not even going to drop a budget until next year, next spring probably. So what kind of government is this? He's spending $500 billion, and he doesn't even have a budget. Only in Canada can people get away with this kind of crap. Only in Canada. Yeah, you get away with it. The last thing I want to talk about is this AI-171, the flight that crashed in India. You know, there's a lot of weird stuff going on with this. And I know everybody calls me a conspiracy theorist, but there's a lot of crap going on. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, of course, you know the story of this by now. Everybody knows the story. A plane takes off, starts going up. All of a sudden, they're saying there was no engines. The engines quit for one reason or the other. The thing had no lift. It floats down and crashes into a building, kills everybody aboard except one guy who came walking out, some kind of time traveler or something. I don't know. And a bunch of people on the ground, 274, I think, were killed by this plane. Just a terrible accident for everybody. But although everybody's blaming it on the engines or an electrical fault, and that's because the rat came down, the ram air turbine came down. And what that does is that when the engines go out, it comes down, The air spins it like a little propeller, which provides enough power at least to do things like power the all the board so they can see their instruments. They'll be working, powers communications, a few important things, so that they can get the plane down safely. Of course, when you're at 600 feet and this happens, yeah, it doesn't matter. It's too late. It's too late. But nobody's saying why these engines would go out. There's all kinds of theories about why they went out, but nobody's really saying it. Oh, it could have had an airlock in the lines, the fuel lines, because it was so hot out. But I don't believe that. I don't buy that for a second. Planes fly in Phoenix, Arizona. It's 110, 120 degrees every day in the summer, and they managed to take off and land without airlocks. Then they said it could have been a flame out, it could have been birds, it could have been all this other stuff. But nobody's saying that it could have been malicious. And I will guarantee you that the FBI and other international police organizations are looking at exactly that. Who was the pilot? Who was the co-pilot? Who was on that plane? And they're not releasing a word about these guys. The only thing I've heard about the pilot who was like 20 some years old with 8,000 hours. The other guy was 20 some years old with 1,100 hours on the plane or something. But that's it. They haven't said about their families, about their backgrounds. I haven't read anything about that. Why? Why? This is the first thing we always hear about. Who the pilot was, what his background was. Was he tied to any terrorist groups? Did he have any kind of prejudice or bias or anything towards one religion or fanaticism? What was his Facebook page look like? What did that look like? What did he post? I mean, these are things that are a normal thing that we hear all the time. We haven't heard a word about any of that. So that's number one, strange. And number two, they always say who was on the plane. Passenger manifest. Who was on that plane? Was it somebody important? I mean, look at the crash of the helicopter, the military helicopter into the plane over the Hudson River. Right away, they said that the people in the helicopter, they worked for a company, Siemens, I think, or someone in Spain. The guy was the CEO, and blah, 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 blah. And they're looking at to see if it was some kind of a terrorist act and who this pilot was. And of the helicopter was military, so they're looking into her past and everything else. So this is the kind of stuff you get from these things. But when there's something weird going on, you don't hear about it. Isn't that concerning? I think it is. So we haven't heard about the manifest and who was on that plane. We haven't heard about the pilots and what they're all about and their families and any relatives. Third thing that's really weird is the black box. Now, they found the black boxes. They said one was so damaged they had to send it to the United States. Now, this is concerning on two levels. It's concerning on the first level because, number one, those black boxes are made to take 3,400 G forces. So, and they're rated to go to the bottom of the ocean and not implode or anything. They can take that pressure. And they're rated to 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 200 or 300 degrees above what jet fuel burns at. So they're meant to take this kind of abuse that happened. And yet it was so damaged, it had to go to the FBI or somewhere in Washington. Now that's scary. We haven't heard anything about that. And the second thing is scary is that what the hell's going on with Air India? You mean to tell me they can't read their black boxes? They can't translate the information on the black boxes? How do they do investigations? You know, you don't have to have a crash to have an investigation, you know. If the plane lands funny or if some problem develops, they go to the black boxes and listen to them and see what happened. Even if the plane lands safe sometimes. You mean to tell me this airline can't interpret their black boxes? That's pretty strange. And no authority in India can interpret the black box, so they got to send it out of the country? That's scary. That's scary right there. That should concern everybody. And then the third thing that was weird about it is the guy walking away, just walking out of it like nothing happened. A day in the park, with his phone talking to somebody, walking out, not badly injured, nothing. From this crash that was a fireball, burned everybody to ashes, and killed 274 other people. This guy just walks out like it was a walk in the park. There's been no interviews, nothing said, nothing. So I still find this really weird. And you can call me a conspiracy theorist all you want and everything else. But there's something rotten in Denmark. Something stinks here. And I'm going to keep watching it to get to the bottom of it because I don't think we've heard the last of this whole thing. There's more to it than that. And even the pundits will go as far as saying they think it was engine failure and this and that, but not one of them is talking about a malicious crashing of the plane. In other words, this guy in that plane just shut off the fuel, right? Pushed forward the flaps, retracted the flaps, shut off the fuel, cut off the electrical, shut off the engines. And you know what? Everybody say, well, what about the other guy? He could have stopped it. No, these things are happening in such rapid succession. This guy's going up. He's reaching climb. He's at 600 feet off the ground. And the engines go out. He would not see the guy shutting off the engines or the fuel or doing an electrical act. He wouldn't even see it. And he would be so concentrated on trying to resolve the situation. Because he's got like 15 seconds to figure it out. And if he doesn't, then it's not going to work. So at the end of the day, he wouldn't have time to fix it once this guy did it. Even if he shut off those engines, if they went down for any reason, it's going to take 10 seconds maybe to spool them back up, to get them back running, more maybe 20 seconds to get them spooled up and starting to produce thrust. They just don't come on automatically. So it was way too late. But anyway, keep your eye on that one too. But my big thing right now is Iran. What's going on over there? The Israelis launched more attacks on Iran in the last few hours, and they hit Folsom again, or whatever that's called, Fallujah, or what the heck is that name of that place that they hit? They hit that one starting with F. I can't remember all the different names. But anyway, they hit that again, and they're going to be hitting other places. They're not putting up with it. And, yeah, it's on. It's on. It's on in the Middle East. Trump, promises made, promises kept. That's the way it goes. And I'm promising to be back tomorrow at noon. Promises made, promises kept. I will be here. My name is Paul Killamere. This is Your City, Your Voice, even though it says Pat Porter up there. Your City, Your Voice on 4680Q Radio, coming to you live. And I apologize to all my radio listeners because this streamer isn't connected. I don't know what's wrong with it. Don't have time to troubleshoot it. But it will be on at 3 o'clock as usual on YouTube. If for some reason they can hear me. We're going to go. God bless you all. Enjoy this weather. It's so beautiful out there. Get yourself a shady spot with a cold drink and have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow at noon. Take care, everybody. Ciao, ciao.